out at that appointment the thyroid cancer. When you're on natural fertility, your body speaks to you through your fertility. And when there isn't something right, you can see it easily in people's chart. I really wish, and I think this is a pretty common thing, I wish that I'd known sooner. The reality is, in a few weeks, you won't even notice. It's like, at this point, I can't even unsee it. We've had people diagnosed with all sorts of things just by looking at their charts. Your body is telling you, and as a whole, if it's allowed to, it will show you something's wrong.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the PeakLife Show. I'm your host, Viva Kraus, and this show is all about us learning how to live our best selves, or our peak life. Today's guest is Elizabeth Timpey. Elizabeth holds a Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry and a minor in Theology. She has a passion for using her background to help people better understand their bodies and the beauty of their fertility. She coaches couples and one-on-one, and she actually coaches with her husband, Seth. They have been married for 12 years and have 4 beautiful children, and I'm so honored to be able to have this conversation with her today about just her journey when it comes to her own fertility tracking, how that has shaped their life and their marriage, and also her passion for being able to share that with others. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here with us, Elizabeth. So why don't we just start off learning just a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, and I see you have lots of family pictures back there. So tell us about your family. Yeah.
Great. Well, I've been teaching with CCL NFP for about 8 years now, and I've been coaching women like more one-on-one through FSI for about 3 years. I teach NFP with my husband of 13 years, and we have 4 kids. They are 9, 7, 5, and 3. And I have a degree in biochemistry. I taught actually hypochemistry for about 4 years before I had kids, and then I've been staying home with them ever since they had my first daughter. So it's been a crazy ride and an adventure to continue my passion through NFP.
So right now you're currently a work-from-home mom, teaching NFP to couples, and then is your one-on-one coaching geared toward couples or more just women?
Yeah, that's a great question. So sometimes women come to me and they just need a little bit more help. And so we just meet one-on-one. And sometimes they want their husband there because they want their husbands to hear the information and to understand it as well. So sometimes it can be both.
That's awesome. One of the things you said was that you have a degree in biochemistry. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So was NFP and charting and mucus and hormones and all of that in your radar? Because I've heard conflicting things about, like nursing degrees and biochemistry, going into that, whether or not they learned NFP at the university level. But was that something you experienced?
Well, in my particular program, in the actual biochemistry program, no. However, I went to a Catholic college and I had a minor in theology. Okay. So they actually had classes about natural family planning. I took one my senior year because I wanted to connect the science and the theology, and really it's a science of its own. So it's kind of funny that it's not included all the time in med school nursing program. I've talked to a lot of doctors who said they got 1 day about fertility, which is just insane because they're supposed to be specialists, right? So
that's crazy.
It really is kind of crazy, a little amount that they know. And I honestly sometimes feel like I know more than my doctor about this fertility subject.
Wow. 1 day, that just blew my mind. Walk me through what your journey has looked like. You and your husband, Seth, have been married a long time, and you guys have 4 beautiful children. So what has that NFP experience looked like for you?
So to say the least, we started charting together when we were in marriage prep. So that was really just part of our marriage prep program. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we started out just learning about our fertility together. We thought for sure there's no way that this is going to work. We felt very nervous, just like most newlywed couples feel. We thought we're going to get pregnant on our honeymoon. And we did it. We felt at first that we did avoid pregnancy for the first year. I was a teacher and Seth was still in grad school. Okay. And it just didn't feel like we were ready to or called to start a family yet. And so about a year into our marriage, that got a job and we were like, okay, we can try to have a child now. We're so excited about this. And I went for a regular checkup because my chart didn't look normal. Mm-hmm. And it looked like the book. And I found out at that appointment the thyroid cancer, which is kind of insane. And it's very rare, and I don't ever want to scare anybody with it. But my chart, when you're on natural fertility, your body speaks to you through your fertility.
Right.
And when there isn't something right, you can see it easily in people's charts. So I actually saw something wrong in my charts. My doctor listened to me and knew about NFPs. I went for the NFP friendly doctor, and they tested my thyroid, found out I had an 8 centimeter tumor. It's all okay though. I am 10 years cancer free. They caught it so early. It was very treatable. And it was really, at the time, they kept telling me it's the best cancer to have. Well, it was still hard because it was cancer.
Right.
We had to abort pregnancy very seriously during that time. And NFP worked still. We were still able to use that kind and just know when I was fertile and infertile. So that was kind of incredible. Then we wanted to get pregnant. It was our first. After I was all clear, and I wasn't getting pregnant for a lot of months. And another benefit of NFP is that when you are charting and know your fertility, they will see you sooner. A doctor will see you sooner because they know what you're doing.
Right.
Sometimes they'll just say, like, we'll wait a year, we'll wait for 3 miscarriages. However, they were like, okay, we'll see you sooner. And so it took about a year, and we got pregnant with my first daughter. Wow. And after that, I haven't actually had any more trouble getting pregnant. Every other time, it's been pretty quick. When we decided we're ready to have another kid, we got pregnant pretty quickly. It is a blessing, though. Like, every child is a gift, and we didn't expect that at all.
Yeah.
But, that is just how it turned out.
Just the beauty of NFP is a science, and it's real, and even like the more secular world is moving away from birth control, and everyone's looking for a natural option. And your story is such a wild and very unexpected testament to look at what our bodies can do naturally. Look at what it's trying to tell us. And when we take the time ourselves and have a doctor take the time with us to say, these are the signs your body is showing. Here's what we need to start looking at. And thank God that, they were able to catch the cancer so early and that you've been 10 years cancer free. I mean, that is just so incredible. But that all started from you just charting, and that started from your NFP engagement class. And, I say for every couple, like, that is the one thing you've got to be doing for your marriage prep, because like you said, it is vital in your marriage to have that open communication. A lot of times we're so closed off, and we have that barrier of, it's a very intimate subject, our fertility. Yeah. And to be able to be so open with that with our spouses is a really beautiful gift. So thank you so much for sharing your testimony and your story, and just really bearing witness to the way NFP works, because it is a science, and our bodies were made to be listened to. And our culture has spent so long not listening to the body.
Yes, it's true. It is really a blessing. In the last few years, people have started really caring. I've noticed it in a big way.
Yeah.
They care about what's going into their bodies, and they're realizing that birth control is one of those things, and they're concerned about it, which is really good. I mean, through our years teaching, we've had people diagnosed with all sorts of things just by looking at their charts and saying, hey, we're not doctors. However, this isn't normal, and you should go ahead and see your doctor. Infections and all sorts of things that they didn't know were there. Your body is telling you, and as a whole, if it's allowed to, it will show you if something's wrong.
Why is learning NFP important for women of all ages, young and old?
I really wish, and I think this is a pretty common thing, I wish that I'd known sooner. Yeah. I always thought that something weird was going on if my body had a discharge. It wasn't really talked about. I had kind of some painful periods that I thought, well, I was told were normal, and I would just have to handle it, Right. And now I'm learning after all this time that, like, actually it's not normal to be in so much pain. It's not normal to have such heavy bleeding, and I've been able to make some nutritional changes and things that have changed that and allowed me to have like a more normal period. And so I think I want to start, and I have started with my oldest daughters, who's talking about this like it's a normal thing. Yeah. And I want to, her to be able to understand the cyclical nature of her body and how it works. So,
okay, so you can really be coaching and seeing these clients throughout as soon as they begin fertility at, 10 to 13 years old to that perimenopause and postmenopausal stage?
Theoretically, yes, if they would stay with us. And some of them have. I mean, I had some people who I know so well become really close friends with who I've been coaching for 13 years. I wasn't officially coaching them, but I did with the science major. People always kind of came to me because I seem to understand charting and things a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I have, some friends that I've been talking to for years and years just about our charts. And we've all been having babies and doing all the transitions together.
Aside from the strict work you do with NFP and couples and teaching women about their cycles, how else has charting and kind of being in that more natural mode of health affected other parts of living a healthy lifestyle for you or your family?
Yeah, so I think it has made me more aware, especially with not having a thyroid, about my hormones and my hormonal transitions. After my first two kids postpartum, I was just kind of a wreck. I was feeling awful. I did not. I had probably some postpartum anxiety that was undiagnosed. Had a lot of hormone issues, and I realized as I started to get some help around being pregnant with my third, that I first of all wasn't having a good transition hormone wise with my thyroid hormone replacement. Like after I had a baby, so we were able to fix that. It has made me really aware of different ways and things I can do. So I've done a ton of research and, have improved my health through exercise and nutrition and supplements and seeing that I wasn't doing before my first two kids. And that made a huge difference with my third and fourth pregnancy and, really made me feel like a whole new person and not so sick. I think I just didn't know with the first two that with a big hormonal transition that you can actually help yourself with some different things.
Yeah, that's funny because by trade, I'm a personal trainer and nutrition coach. And, helping women realize that you can do just naturally to help your body, to help your hormones, and to really kind of heal from the inside out. And that's really important at any stage, right? Whether you're a mother or not, you're always going to be going, like you said, through those hormonal changes. And so being on top of the things that we can control, our exercise, nutrition, our sleep, and then adding those extras in is, like you said, so important.
I noticed, for example, I thought I was eating healthy and I thought I was exercising in the right way, but I wasn't. So I realized that once I saw an actual dietitian, he was like, okay, no, you should be eating this way for your body with no thyroid and, just kind of focusing there's all these diets out there, they cut out this, cut out that, and what can you eat, right? However, we figured out what my body was going to respond well to, and it wasn't a lot of those major diets, but just good nutritional balance. And then I had to kind of go a little bit low carb because my body's really carb sensitive, it turns out.
But what's interesting too, though, is the nuance person to person, right? But the way that NFP, when we're practicing it, teaches us to listen to what our body needs, because what we need isn't going to be the exact same as somebody else. So one of the questions, I'm also a mom of 3, and so my question for you is, as a work from home mom who has this really well-rooted balance of living a healthy lifestyle, raising kids, and also trying to help women and couples live a similar way, how do you find balance in all that and kind of mitigate the stress? Because we know that stress also plays a role in our hormones. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, finding balance is going to be always the hard thing, right? I'm going to say that I found it, but I do work towards it. I think that really, for me, what I've realized, at least with now having 4, is routines are super important. If you don't have routines and you're not a super type A person, maybe that works for you. But I feel like the kids always respond better to routines, just having knowing what they can expect. So I really have to advocate for a quiet time or nap time. Nap if they're hanging down for quiet time. If they're not, no matter what, every day we have that. That's when I get to do my exercise and my recharging as well. So that's something that's a non-negotiable we do every day. otherwise, I just always try to like kind of keep the same rhythm. So the morning might be the time we go out and do a bunch of things, but then when we come back and after lunch, the boys are quiet time. That's when I can get a lot done, things like that. So I also heard this recommendation from another mom that was much older than me before I had kids. She said, just have one thing every day, that you're doing. So if it's like Monday is laundry day, Tuesday is cleaning, Wednesday is like washing the dishes. Not that you wouldn't want to be washing your dishes, but she said that, just one thing every day so you don't feel like overcome by all the things that you could be doing. But you can also just have this small little goal and say, okay, yep, I did this today. I washed the floor and I'm good, for now. So I had to let go of perfectionism a lot with motherhood. I'm a pretty perfectionistic person and type A organized, like kind of thing. And I just had to be like, okay, we can have a little spontaneity. You can also relax the goals a little bit. My house is not perfect. It's messy. And I think that also helped to kind of let go of some of those ideals that I had about what it was going to look like. And then also, I think the biggest thing that a lot of women forget about when to take time for themselves, and I think this for husbands too. My husband and I are really like working on to reduce stress. Like we realize that we need our own time together. Taking Dave to try to do like a date night once a month. Back investment ever. Get a babysitter once is worth the money. And then he also has things that we do ourselves, and we recommend to couples have those things you could do, your hobbies at home. Because yes, we all have our hobbies that like my husband loves to fish and hunt, but he can't leave to do those things all the time. No. That would not be great for me. So, and I, like I have some things that I like to do, but I can't always do them right now. So we just both try to have our hobbies that we like, right here that we could do at our house. We both gotten into baking and cooking together, and just kind of, that's been a fun hobby to do together.
To segue kind of into that, my other question for you is, we have a really hard time prioritizing ourselves. Like you said, like we have to talk to our husbands, make sure, and I think that applies for just women across the board, is we're so naturally inclined to be helpers and to do other things for other people, which is a beautiful part of like the innate feminine beauty. But we have a hard time prioritizing ourselves. And a lot of times when people start learning about NFP, like, yes, they want to go down that route, they want to learn, but it feels like so much. It feels very daunting, I think, to so many, as with starting a new exercise program or cooking more at home, right? All these new things that they've got to learn to do. So what would you say to the woman who really wants to dive into NFP and start figuring out what her body's telling her and learning these things, but feels like she hasn't got over that hump of just starting and prioritizing that for herself?
Well, you're going to like my answer. I would say use the PeakDay app. Because
Yes.
Well, I like that. I can't. I just like when I started charting, it was like on paper, and it was like, oh, it was a big lifestyle shift for me. However, the app like reminds you to chart, like how your phones are now in your pocket. Like even when I started charting 13 years ago, we didn't carry our phones around like we do today. So
right.
It's just like it's right there. You can't possibly forget it. That you can just open the app and chart. So I think that is a huge thing that overcomes barrier to people. I also think it's really good to just like realize that this will become easier. Every time people start charting, that feels like a lot, and you're like, how am I supposed to remember this all throughout the day? Like all the things. The reality is, in a few weeks, you won't even notice. It's like, at this point, I can't even unsee it. I wish I could. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I know I'm fertile today. I can see it. And I wish I could just like, pretend like it's not there.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, okay, I know what's going on with my body, and it's so glaringly obvious to me now. A lot of women also, like when we're talking to them, we realize that it's kind of like just like opening a window that they didn't know was there, but they did.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I do know what you're talking about. I have experienced that. So usually just with a little description and like helping them explain it to them, they're like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And that has been happening to me.
Yes, it's an innate thing, and sometimes we just need that little push to realize you can do this. And also, even just hearing your story, right, reinforces the fact that even if it is a little bit difficult to get started or you feel overwhelmed by it, especially if you are experiencing some more severe issues and symptoms, it could be overwhelming. But like your story shows, the fruit outweighs the overwhelming start because you never know what you're going to find. And you also won't be able to get that healing that's on the other side without starting. Thank you so much for all of these awesome insights. And one of the things I really want to dig into with you is your fertility coaching. Because like we've mentioned the PeakDay app, and we know that through the app we can chart all of our symptoms, and then we can even bring those charts to our doctors and ask questions through the app, get assigned to different fertility coaches, because I know that's a big question people have. Well, what is fertility coaching? That sounds kind of woo-woo, like weird. So walk us through what fertility coaching really is and what that looks like.
So it is that little push, that accountability partner. Some women just need a little bit more help, like understanding it. Now the app, it's really great. It does it does a really good job identifying fertile times and everything. Some people just want to know more, or they have some issues going on. I get a lot of women come to coaching postpartum. That's where I get a lot of people. That's because it's a confusing time and it's not regular fertility.
Right.
And I do get women trying to get pregnant because they haven't been getting pregnant for so many months. They want a little bit more advice on their chart to see if there's, the timing's off or something, if something looks off. So there really is not a bad time to get a fertility coach, especially if you're kind of feeling like, I don't know what I'm doing and I want a little bit more help and support. Sometimes it's just to even get a little bit more help as a couple, like the husband are asking questions in the coaching session saying, okay, how do I help my wife with this? Or how do I hold her accountable, help with the charting? So I think it's a lot of different transition times, but there are even women who just got married and they're like, I just want to make sure that I understood this for my class. So I get people all different kinds. I did actually have a woman even who was a single woman a few months ago that I coached. And she just was like, I just want to start charting because my doctor recommended I get an IUD and I don't want one. And she's not even a person who's even close to getting married or in a relationship or anything. But for some issues that she was having in her chart, she was recommended an IUD and she did not believe that was the right thing and also wanted to go a natural route. So, women like that come to us as well.
That's perfect to hear because my next question was, our experience as married mothers and wives is doing NFP because one, we're Catholic, so in the church, we had to go through those classes during engagement, but then two, we're pregnant or postpartum, and so it is really funky and your hormones get wild, and so we need the help there. It's good to hear that you've also coached women who are single and they're like, I just care about my health and my energy and I'm not sleeping well and I'm experiencing these things, and how beautiful it would be if that was more common, that, you don't have to be married or pregnant or postpartum or engaged to dive into learning NFP.
Yeah, no, you don't. And I think a lot of women don't know that. There are a lot of women that are starting to wonder if they've made the right choice. I mean, we get a lot of them in the engagement classes, like we talked about, where they're just like, well, I was told to get this IUD and now I'm really upset after you've told me all these things, So they wish that they had known. And so it is really helpful to know that there are women out there that are starting to say, I deserve better. I want better. And, even just from for example, the Apple Watch, now takes your basal body temperature. A lot of women think that that's NFP, but they realize, as they have started charting or they want to know more about it, that's such one piece of the picture, just one tiny small tool. And then there's actually a method to it. There's actually something you can use to help yourself, even to, as an unmarried woman, work with your energy levels during different phases and feel better, with all the different things about it.
A good distinction too, that just tracking these certain things or knowing when your period's going to come every month isn't exactly NFP, that there's so much more to it. And I think too, especially for single women, or if before I had met my now husband, if I had heard about NFP, I would have been like, natural family planning? Well, I'm not there yet, But to know that it's natural fertility tracking also. It's not just about planning the family, but that it's about tracking your fertility as a whole, not just tracking a couple symptoms here and there. So Elizabeth, we've heard your journey with NFP and how that affected your family and your health and all the good things that came out of that journey for you. But can you tell us a little bit about your journey stepping into coaching? Because you said you were a science teacher and then a stay-at-home mom. And so where did the NFP coaching journey come into play there?
Well, it came in pretty quickly because I think once people found out that I was an NFP teacher or that I had a science degree, my mom friends, I started getting charts texted to me on a regular basis.
Wow, that's awesome. Everyone watching this and listening, you can't just text Elizabeth your chart.
Sorry. I do say there's like no TMI with me though. So if you really need help and you want to start a coaching relationship, then you can.
There you go. You can tell her all the symptoms that you're feeling, and she'll get back to you on that. So is it true that with coaching, because you coach with CCL, you get to help support women by utilizing the PeakDay app?
Yeah. So we often recommend that. Now, women sometimes still want to chart with their app. However, we try to, as best we can, move them over to PeakDay because PeakDay really is the best app for charting, especially as a Catholic woman. We know it's, an all pro-life supporting app as well, which I think is important. And also, it's really important that the app can be used by both the husband and wife. Most apps don't actually let you do that. I found it out from my sister. And she was using another app before PeakDay, and she said they wouldn't only let me log in. And it's supposed to be, like a couple, right? Like your husband should be able to check the app and know what phase you're in so that you don't have to constantly be telling him, I'm fertile, I'm not fertile, I'm fertile. So we really want to get couples charting on the app for that reason as well. But it really is just the best and easiest tool, I think, to use. So we get women charting in there pretty quickly just because it's going to be that extra piece of confidence for women who are learning to tell you what phase you're in. And actually, like kind of at some point, take my job away. I don't even need to coach people anymore after people have gotten some good charts going and they really do understand it.
Wow. So
in a good way.
Yeah. They're able to graduate because they have the knowledge and the confidence from you, but then they can go forward with the PeakDay app in just confidence in knowing that what they're charting is going to be accurate for their bodies.
Yeah.
So for a woman, coming from NFP from maybe another type of NFP, because there's several different options available to us, which is great, is PeakDay still good for those users who might be using another kind of NFP method?
That's great. Actually, I think absolutely it is. I always tell people that you're married to your husband, not your NFP method. So if it's not working for you and your husband, then you do need to switch. And so we have women all the time. I mean, I have people that I know that, have switched from Syntothermal to Marquette or from Creighton to Syntothermal or whatever they wanted. And I think you can absolutely still use the PeakDay app. Well, I know that the app now, that Marquette rules. And so you can actually chart. You didn't know this?
So cool. Okay.
Hi. And so the Marquette, people can chart with their clearly monitor and an ovulation monitor. Now you have to choose. You can't chart both because you shouldn't. You should choose a method.
Okay.
I absolutely recommend people not trying to layer methods. That's too confusing. So just go ahead and choose this method you're using and learn from an instructor in that method. We teach them thermals for the most part, but you can learn from Marquette instructor, use our app. And then people who are using Creighton, they could chart mucus only on the app if that was what they wanted to do. However, it won't, obviously be able to tell you what phase you're in. It's different. You could use the mucus only rule, but you wouldn't have the same specificity as like a Creighton paper chart. But knowing that there is no app for Creighton, people could use it as well for read the me if they want it. Oh, so I don't know if people know that, but Oura Ring, Apple Watch, Fitbit, they all track that. Some people don't like to take their temperature in their mouth every day. So, my question would be, how do you find balance? I want to hear your answer to that question.
I think both of our coaching and being in the health and wellness realm, there's a lot of emphasis put on stress and trying to find ways to mitigate that because now there's so much research about how much stress impacts our bodies and our health, and like trying to mitigate that stress. And as working moms from home, that's really difficult. I think it's okay to be honest that it's really hard, and I've been struggling with it a lot lately, actually, trying to figure out what is a bedtime that I have to stick to so that I can work out in the morning. And if the baby does wake up in the middle of the night, am I going to get enough hours of sleep? Or if one of the big kids wakes up, right, am I still going to get enough hours in the day that I feel like I'm well rested and I can, still do my non-negotiables, right? And so thankfully, my husband Chase works from home as well. And so we tag team a lot together of, when he goes to the gym and then when I can go to the gym and have that alone time, right? And yeah, I think a lot of that balance for me, one, comes from staying off my phone, because that is such a trap, and it's a stress inducer too, right? That we're seeing other moms online, we're comparing, and then we just inevitably fall into a little bit of stress from that. And then we worry, well, I didn't get these things done I said I was going to get done today. So I actually really love your advice about choosing one thing a day. Like, of course, we're going to get more done because we're super women. We're super moms. But just knowing that I can get laundry done Monday, I can get grocery pickup Tuesday, I can meal plan Wednesday, just those small tasks. Balance is really, really hard, and I think it comes with each season, and I think balance looks different. And so for me, last year, my year one postpartum, right, with the newborn and going through all of that, balance looked a lot different than it does now. And at this point, I'm really starting to have to talk myself out of sleeping in more and going to bed later because I need more alone time, kind of thing, because I know I have to start putting in a little bit more discipline. I'm over a year postpartum, and not that sleeping in or staying up late for alone time is a bad thing, but I know personally, if I don't start increasing some disciplines, I'm just not going to have time in the day to do what I have to get done.
How do you stay off your phone? How do you do that?
Badly?
Because it's really, me too. Because I think I try to put it like up. My son, my 3-year-old, he just like finds it. He like brings it to me, and he's like, "Here's your phone, Mom." And then he's like trying to like type on it, and I'm like, "No, no, no." So like it's really stressful to like have that like extra thing, and I don't want him to think that I'm just on my phone. So one of the things I do, I read a lot. That's one of my hobbies. I like find peace in, and I bought a Kindle because I didn't want my kids to think I was just staring at my phone when I was reading a book. So that's one thing I do. But otherwise, I just try to put it up in a way, or now I'm like having to put it where he can't find it and bring it to me, because that's like something he wants to do, I guess.
A lot of times I just have to tell my husband, Chase, like, if you catch me being on it, you need to just take it away from me. He's done that. He's just taken it out of my hands. I'm like, okay. Balance is hard. But I think once, like you said about NFP earlier, once you start finding those habits that fit into your life in a particular season, the more second nature it gets. And it's just getting over the first initial hump of waking up 30 minutes earlier, or starting to chart again, and, meal planning on Sundays so that you know what you're eating all week, and you eliminate some decision fatigue for yourself, right? But it's just always that initial hurdle of starting it. And once you do, like you said earlier, it becomes a lot more second nature. So I think we just have to remind ourselves of that pretty often.
Well, and, especially like in the case that we're both married women with our husband, like they need to be involved too. I mean, my husband and I meal plan together on Sunday afternoon. That's our plan, so that it takes the stress off me.
Yep.
He wants to help with that. Charting is also about them. They may be always fertile, but, it actually does matter that we're not always fertile as women. And so, like, my husband helps me with remember to chart, or sometimes put the info in the chart for me. Yeah. I haven't remembered that day. So I think all these things should be done, in partnership with your husband.
Yes. Amen to that. Amen to that. Awesome, Elizabeth. Well, it was so great. Thank you so much for coming on the show today and for sharing not just your experience as a fertility coach, but your entire story, with especially how powerful it is to hear how NFP and listening to the body can really impact you, not just into the day-to-day, but into the story of your life, right? And so I just want to thank you so much for so vulnerably sharing your beautiful story of triumph and of hope, and of just you being able to listen to the gifts that your body is, and sharing that with us. And also sharing all the fun things that we can do on PeakDay, all the things I got to learn. And I'm really excited to go home tonight and look at my monitor and start connecting things and getting it all set up for myself so that I can better start charting with that as well. So yeah, thank you so much